All right, so how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Civil War Empire. A little bit of a delayed start here. Have some issues with scheduling and stuff this week. One of our players will be out. The other one's running a little bit late, but she's going to be here. Just want to make sure everybody's here before we get going. Tonight, with the collateral damage that is taken place within Falseharbor, our champions of the Empire are kind of faced with a bit of a quandary as they move forward. But first, the announcements for the day. Tomorrow, I will be at PAX East. I'm going to be there all weekend. I may not be there Sunday, but I know I'm going to be there for the first 3 days. Hopefully I can find a good Wi-Fi connection, can do a little IRL stream from the showroom floor, kind of give you a view of everything that's going on there. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people doing that as well. The next Empire game is maybe looking like it's going to land on a Thursday instead of Wednesday, but I'll keep you posted on that. Be sure to check the Twitter feed to see what information is available, and we'll keep that up to date as much as possible. We are also on our regular schedule for Ascension and Tyranny this week. So that's going to be good to go for Sunday and Monday. And on Wednesday is our first Storm King's Thunder session, the campaign titled Amongst the Giants. Kind of hope everybody's there. Get to see another new campaign start up here. It's pretty exciting. It's the 5th one that we're running here, which is pretty awesome. And then one last little bit of personal excitement for myself is our channel hit 100 followers today. So thank you to everybody that has followed our channel, and hopefully we'll continue to trend in that direction as we kind of move forward from here. But with that, I'm going to check with our two guys, do our recap, and then see if we're good to go. So give me just a second. I will check with them. All right, are you guys ready?
Yep, ready to go.
All right. All right, so as I mentioned, this is going to be a bit of a long recap because we're recapping all of Act 1, kind of condensing it down to a few paragraphs here. So here we go. The story began with a journey west from the city of Baldar's Gate, where our adventurers individually sought voyage aboard the Dauntless Dame. The journey went mostly well, with the exception of a Kraken attack, which ultimately sunk their ship, and our adventurers were left to float away towards the shore of illusions. The outskirts villagers brought in our adventurers and took care of them for a couple of days until they got back on their feet and were back to health again. And then after that time, they ventured southwest, reaching the city of Kalido. The city, ran by the Gladamain High Council, is a thriving city amongst the Empire, and far more advanced than anything that they have ever seen before. The adventurers made their way to the High Council and found out that we're trying to find out exactly what the Empire needed of them. But before they could even get settled in, they were greeted by an apparition floating above the holy shrine of Tyrus and claiming to be Tyrus himself. While Mariel, Gladamain, and the soldiers of the city defended the chambers from the undead, our adventurers dove inside, where they would stumble across 2 glowing orbs, revealing details of the past long forgotten. They then attempted to speak with the ghost, floating above the reflecting pool inside the shrine. But even it refused to be helpful. Instead, when our adventurers attempted to leave, they would be attacked by a water weird, which nearly brought an end to our adventure early. The party would then stumble across a coin, one that looked vaguely similar to a coin presented to Vormash by the king himself, though both coins have different symbols upon them. After exiting the shrine, the party is treated to a hero's feast, before being sent onward towards Stormholm Keep to meet the king himself, but not before Vormash and Avalana encountered a few visions in their sleep. Vormash of a woman in black cloak, and Avalana of a woman in a white dress. Their journey was uneventful, thanks to the secured pathway chosen by Kai Gladamain, the king and Lady Gladamain's son. While at the keep, they learned of a cleric, Eleonora Maester, who may be able to help them understand who this god claims to be. However, their travels to Falseharbor led them into a cultist-infested city, and Eleonora came up missing. Searching for the abducted Eleonora led them to a prison cell, where they bump into a woman in Vormash's vision, who is planning a surprise attack on the mage and guardian that are trying to investigate or speak with Eleonora and gather information from her. With the help of the woman, they quickly dispatch the cultists, but not before taking one of their party down as well. They quickly free Eleonora, all but ignoring the woman in black, before she disappeared in front of Slavomir. Afterwards, they quickly rushed out of the mansion, making their way back into the town, where they found Luthard Gamwich, the magistrate of the city, being questioned by the town constable. Taking Eleonora to the temple to rest, our party would reconvene back at the town hall, where Avalana attempted to separate the disagreement. But danger lurked around the corner, as the man who called himself Tyrus the Ascended approached from the shadows, with Eleonora in tow. Tyrus's appearance would anger Avalana, causing her to dash forward towards him, but it was all for naught. With the help of a glowing magical orb, he would wipe out half a dozen villagers, kill the constable, as well as two of our adventuring party, Avalana and Slavomir. And that is where we left off from last session.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
Alright, let's move us to a different view here for you guys. You are in the town proper. I think this has my... yeah, it does. It has my DM screen here. Hold on a second. I gotta change this one. Properties. Change this to that one. That's better. And this one... sorry, my Roll20 is showing the wrong window here. Are we showing that? Alright, I think we're all good. Don't see Avalana yet, so we will continue on from where we are at right now. So, the village of Falseharbor is now a chaotic mess. Nearly a dozen of the village's citizens are dead, including the constable Ulk. Luthard clings to life, only thanks due to the two priests, who are trying everything in their power to bring people back before it is far too late. However, the time has come for many of them. The charred remains of their bodies lie on the ground, a reminder of the destruction done at the hands of a god. But the blood, well, that is on your hands. The crowd around the town begins to grow, villagers looking at you with disgust as their family and friends now have their lives taken from them. Word of this will certainly reach the rest of the realm pretty quickly, and as such, you can be certain that the king is going to be notified of it soon. The man to the south, a shifty-looking individual wearing gray robes with a hood that covers his head, watches your actions closely, though you do hear him make mention that he may be of assistance to you. He has as much trust in you as you probably do of him. Luthard nears death, lying motionless on the ground. The priests have begun performing blessings over Ulk's necrotic-infested body and scorched remains of the other villagers around the city. A sign that they are no longer comfortable attempting to bring Ulk back, Yet, similarly, they begin checking everybody else's bodies for signs of vital signs of life itself, though not finding anything. Luthard's breath is very heavy, very fast, and very short. Sweat's dripping from his brow, his right hand clutching to his chest while he grips an amulet that is hanging around his neck. Upon first touch, his skin feels as though it's on fire, spreading throughout his body. You hear the faint sound of murmuring, though. Looking down, Luthard's come to, but the fever has corrupted his mind. When listening closely, you can make out that not only is he speaking, but he's uttering a name. Ezator.
Did you write that down?
Could you say that name one more time?
Ezator. Luthard then
Ezator.
suddenly collapses. His fever spiking as the priests gather around him, quickly rush him to the sick ward on the second story of the prison building itself over at marker right here, marker 9. The crowd around you begins to grow, and so does their emotions. They begin to jeer you, angered, vile words and hatred spread in your direction. The shifty man begins to fear that you are in danger and quickly rushes up, grabbing you on the shoulder, Vormash, and saying, "We must go at once."
Yes, I agree. Please lead the way.
Okay.
By chance, I imagine we probably don't have access to our level ups yet, right? Officially?
Correct. Because you have not officially reached your long rest yet. And the Sage, thank you so much for the subscription
It's a
over
shame.
on
I was
YouTube.
about ready to maybe drop some Kieran Woods. Lay on hands.
Lay on hands. Yeah.
But
All right. So, you're going to follow, the party will be following this shady-looking individual?
Yes, because right now that's the only choice we have.
Okay.
That's the only path so much he's going.
Belvedere is not so willing and looks at the guy and is like, who are you?
He looks at you and says, "There's no time. I will explain shortly. You must come with me if you plan to live through this night."
Look around at the people.
Give me a perception check then.
See if really all of them are as like supposedly against us as it seems to be.
Yeah, even with that roll, these people are angry. They are now shouting at you. They are turning and heading towards their homes to gather whatever weapons or whatever they can to come and probably hunt you guys down after seeing so many of their fellow comrades killed for apparently no reason to them.
Look, Belvedere, I know you don't trust this guy, but it's either go with him or face against this angry mob.
Slavomir agrees and says, "Yes, I too think we should probably follow this individual."
Are the clerics still nearby, or the clergymen?
Yes, the two priests are still here. They're right here. The one was attempting to bring Ulk back, and the other one is taking care of Luthard, whose fever is now skyrocketing, and he's just sweating bullets as he lays on the ground.
Yeah, think there's anything I could possibly do with with my herbalism kit? Like maybe a medical treatment or something that I think might help.
From what you can see, the priests are doing a pretty decent job of trying to keep him alive, and as I mentioned, they're kind of rushing to pick him up and take him over to the temple because they want to get him into the sick ward immediately. More of a precautionary measure. Yes, he's stable, but again, his fever is just through the roof, and it's hard for them to contain that right now.
I'm gonna turn to which one of them is nearest, and just say, "I'm sorry, but I think we need to get. I think me and my companions need to leave before the situation escalates."
All right. So with that, the shady individual wearing kind of a gray cloak over him quickly ushers you, leading over towards the inn. As you kind of walk in, the people, because inn is more populated with travelers than it is from locals, nobody here really notices you yet. The shady kind of individual walks by and nods over at the barkeep, who nods back at him, doesn't really say anything, kind of rushes you to the back of the inn itself, opens one of the back room doors and kind of pushes all four of you inside quickly. And as you get inside, he quickly closes the door, and then you watch as he kind of reaches down at his hip and pulls out a dagger. And then, while looking at you guys, he quickly looks down and jabs the dagger into the floorboard and starts to pry open one of the boards, which ends up revealing a staircase that leads directly below. We will move you to that map. The stairway itself is roughly 10 foot wide, leading into a kind of a cellar environment, with barrels of ale and wine stored in the corner, stacks of wood and other supplies at the other end. To the south, an open door leads around the corner, and a well to gather drinking water. From the doorway to the southeast, you can hear a bit of conversation, though it's hard to discern really what's being said because it's echoing so much within the chambers. It's at this point that the man that you're following quickly stops and turns to look at you and says, "As you can assume, well, your actions are not very well perceived here in Falseharbor. Though you wanted to stand up and fight for the people, you inevitably caused death and upended the lives of the villagers here. That's put a negative eye upon you. Word, as I'm sure you can imagine, is going to quickly reach the king. However, even the syndicate can see that this is a time when our people need heroes like you, flawed as you may be."
Thank you, I think.
I just stare at him.
He looks at both of you and nods at Vormash and kind of looks over the party and says, "You are standing within the Falseharbor enclave of the Ebon Spy Syndicate. The Spy Syndicate is the Living Isle's extension of the Thieves Guild from Faerun. We will take any job, if the coin is right, from anyone. Though the ESS generally deals in information, we have been known to provide a vast variety of services."
I'll give him very kind of scowling and say, "Thieves Guild, you mean the Zentarum?"
What was the last part of that? I'm sorry.
I'd look at him and say that, by the Thieves Guild, and ask, "Do you mean the Zentarum?"
Sort of, yes. By Thieves Guild, I mean, we are spies, we are assassins, we are whatever the people need us to be, and if you have enough coin, we will be sure that your bidding is done. We are not linked to any specific side. We are well respected within the Living Isles as well, from both sides, the Imperials and the Alliance.
I see. I turn to Belvedere to just kind of see what he thinks about it.
What you get in return is a very, very unhappy look.
Ornish is just gonna say nothing for now.
And he looks at you, notices kind of that Belvedere is kind of a little off-put by all of this, and says, "Trust me, it'll all make sense here very shortly. When we enter the chambers ahead, and once he finishes with our client, you may speak with Inquisitor Radir. Information comes at a price, obviously, but I will speak to the Inquisitor and see if we can't forward the cost on to the king. After all, you are supposed to be the champions of the Empire, are you not?"
Yes, we are they.
And he nods and says, "Very well, then let us speak to the Inquisitor." And then he quickly moves ahead. Let's see if I can get down here. Moves down towards this doorway here and kind of ushers everybody forward, trying to get everybody again into the next section before people start to question things or start to wonder where you guys went to.
Before we go in, I go to Belvedere. I whisper to him, I can see you're a little aggravated about all this. So why don't you let me do the talking for the Inquisitor?
A little?
And then I just give him a pat on the shoulder and I go, let's just get through this.
Yes, I think maybe these people can be very helpful to us.
Yes, I am. Certain thoughts are crossing through my head, but nothing's certain so far. And then I start walking towards him, towards the silver guy.
Okay. And the rest of the party kind of follows behind. Similarly, just trying to keep up, and again, keeping a bit of a weary eye on this individual as you kind of move forward. You can make your way down the stairwell. As you enter the stairs here, you see that there are two murals on the wall. To the north, the mural depicts an epic battle between man and dragon. And to the south, depiction of a god hovering over his servants below. As you examine these as you walk by, you notice that these stone murals appear to be moving. The stone itself kind of flowing into bubbles and crevices to make the impressions look as if they're moving along the surface. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before.
Wow, did not think this would look like this.
As you enter towards the main chamber here, the warmth of the fireplace to the north helps to illuminate the very large study that you find yourself in. To the south, several of what you believe to be additional spies, wearing similar garb to that of the individual that's accompanying you, can be seen searching through bookshelves and reaching for the books that they pull off the shelf and rummaging through the documents in front of them. To the west, private quarters. A nobleman wearing very ornate robes and fine jewelry speaks in hushed tones to who you believe to be Inquisitor Radar. The Inquisitor, standing roughly 6 foot tall, starts making his way out of the chamber itself. You notice that he's got black hair, very well kept, his armor in perfect condition. You also see, as he kind of walks out of the room itself, you see that it bears the ESS logo on the left shoulder, and as he turns around and goes to speak back to this individual in the chamber, you notice he's wearing a very short cape that bears the Storm King's logo on it. As you approach, the conversation's obviously coming to an end. You hear as the noble kind of speaks up and says, "And just certain this task will be taken care of. I cannot have another thief on my property, Inquisitor." And Inquisitor Radar nods at him, kind of smiles, and says, "I can assure you, Nobleman Varen, we will investigate and remove this threat from your property. You have our word." And as he says this, you watch as the noble kind of walks forward, face to face with you guys standing, kind of blocking his way, and looks and waits patiently for you to step out of the way so he can continue about his business.
Can I get a really good look at him? Like,
yeah. Give me an insight check. Oh yeah. So yeah, you're looking at this guy. You can tell that all he cares about is protecting his stuff. Everything else be damned. He doesn't care if an entire city has to die. As long as his stuff is protected, that's all he cares about. And he came specifically here to make sure that that happens.
I step out of his way, just say nothing.
Okay. And he quickly makes his way by, doesn't say anything to you guys, doesn't question why you're there, nothing, just walks by and then quickly disappears off to the nothingness. Let's see. As such, the Inquisitor, who's now watched the noble kind of walk by, turns to you guys and gives you a bit of a nodding gesture as you approach, and says, "Please come in. You're safe here."
Yes. Thank you. Start walking towards him.
And he kind of looks over at Vormash, who's approached, and says, "That's quite the interesting situation you have above ground, is it not?"
Yes. Well, interesting would be a bit of an understatement.
Yes, I agree. That's quite a bad situation for everybody, to be honest. And he looks at you guys and kind of looks back at the guy that brought you downstairs here and says, "Agent Aaron has taken a liking to you, as it would seem. He's been watching you since you entered Falseharbor."
Agent Aaron?
Yep, Earin. And he kind of smiles and looks over at the Inquisitor and says, "Yes, well, they are supposed to be the champions of the Empire after all." And he looks over at you guys and says, "They did really well to defend the city of Kalito, and the king has tasked them with organizing a militia. But some things are better left alone, but choices had to be made. Inquisitor Radar," and he quickly turns his attention back to the Inquisitor and says, "I believe that these champions are to face Tyrus the Ascended once again, but perhaps if they're going to do so, they're going to need our assistance. While Tyrus had found our Narine enclave and attempted to extract information from Inquisitor Locke, he wasn't able to find our enclave here, only the treasure room, which we pawned off as just being the only location within the city." And the Inquisitor looks at Vormash and says, "Is this true? You were able to defend the city of Kalito all on your own?"
Yes, we were. It was no easy task, mind you.
"And do you feel that you are in need of the aid of the ESS, or do you feel that you know enough already?"
while I won't say we aren't in need of assistance, I don't imagine you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart. What exactly do you get out of this?
I interrupt and say, there's no way that they're doing this out of any sort of goodness whatsoever.
And the Inquisitor smiles at you and kind of steps forward right between both of you and kind of reaches his hands out in like a welcoming gesture and says, "Believe me, we are going to get what we want, and all we want is gold. And the king is going to be paying for this information, I could assume." And he kind of looks over at Agent Aaron, who nods and kind of says, "Yes, I guarantee you, I will talk to the king, and everything will be fine. We don't have to worry about being paid or not." And then the Inquisitor kind of looks back at you guys again and says, "Well, then what do you say? Do you have questions? Is there anything that perhaps I could be of assistance of? Questions of war, other goings on, perhaps personal matters? If you have questions, now is the time to ask." And he quickly turns his back to you and starts walking away into this open study, standing behind this 3-foot or 4-foot wide globe, as he just stands here and waits for you to approach.
I'm gonna approach him, but can I roll an insight check to see if he was lying about like all he wants is gold?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of want to do so as well.
Okay.
All right.
Both of you, as you
Nat
look at this
20.
guy, you are 100% certain that that is all he cares about. The ESS, so I'll go ahead and give you a little backstory of the ESS. Vormash would know more of this than anybody because he's from the area. The ESS itself is renowned for being very professional in the way that they handle information. They only deal with people that are going to pay them for information and never give out information that others have had queries about. So if you're looking to find help or get assistance or find, anything that may help you in some way, you know that the ESS, they're all about business and they will get the job done and get it done appropriately.
Now that I believe him, feeling more comfortable, I'm gonna walk closer to him, and I'm gonna ask him, the man we saw laying outside Luther Gambridge, he spoke the name Etzotor. Does that mean anything to you?
And he looks at you and, one sec, I'm looking for something specific here. I have like a laundry list of things here, so give me a second. Oh, here it is. He turns and looks at you and says, "Well, of course. I mean, you're a sage. You should know these things. Personally, I don't have all the information about Ezator or his shards of twilight. However, we do have 2 researchers in the other room that may have a bit of information for you."
Thank you. I shall speak to them as soon as I can.
And he nods and says, "But Luthard, he's a good man. I don't know if you're aware of everything that went on within the city of Falseharbor."
Yes, well, we saved him from a group of cultists when we went to his establishment to pay him a visit.
And did he happen to tell you why he is the magistrate of this town or this village?
Did he tell us that?
He wouldn't. Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, correct me, GM. We knew that because he took over after the death of the previous guy, but me and Vormash wouldn't actually know what Slavomir and Avalana knew about him having killed the previous guy.
Correct, and at which point Avalana would kind of pipe up and say, "Yes, he mentioned something about Magistrate Gillian, and that he had to kill him for the good of the people here. And the Inquisitor kind of looks over at Avalana and nods and says, yes, he came to us about Gillian, wishing to try to find a way to fight off this Scarlet Hand. We attempted to use our powers to flip Gillian, but it was no use. He wanted to stand and fight against these cultists, but we knew the city was in far too much danger to let that happen. While noble in his intentions, it would have ultimately led to the death of almost the entire village itself. So yes, while Luthard killing Gillian was perhaps the appearance of an evil intent, it was for the good of the village.
Belvedere speaks up and is like, oh, that seems kind of a moot point now, doesn't it?
And he nods and says, yes, it certainly does. Looks like no matter what, we ended up with the same path as before.
I would turn to Vormash and whisper to him quietly, trying to stay pull him a little ways out of earshot, and trying to, keep our backs so to anyone trying to listen in and say, and ask, are you sure you really trust these individuals with disclosing all that we know? Do you think you even trust the information that they claim to be able to give us?
I believed him when he said he was going to go.
You're kind of breaking up, Vormash.
Oh, 1 second. How about now?
That's better.
Okay. I go, look, I believed him when he said he's only after gold. And if he truly is getting paid by the king, if we make sure he gets paid by the king, I'm sure any information he gives us is legitimate.
And he kind of barely overhears what you're saying, and he says, if you don't believe that we're a legitimate operation, why don't you ask the king where the ESS enclave within Stormholm Keep is? Or perhaps you can ask Lady Gladamain where our enclave within Kalido is.
I just look at him and I'm like, I'm well aware of the unfortunate dealings that the rulers have to have with your kind. Doesn't mean that we have to trust you.
He nods and says, very well, and perhaps we will never earn your trust, but I can assure you anything you ask here goes no further than this room. And anything that you ask of us, I will give you straightforward answers for.
Well, how about this? Do you know anything about this? And I pull out the strange coin and hand it to him for him to look at.
And he takes the coin and kind of flips it over a couple of times, and he says, is this the only one?
No, there is another, and I give him the other one that I have.
And he looks at it.
Those were all I was able to find.
He looks at the second one, kind of flipping it over as well, and grins at you and says, once again, your path is leading you to find out more about Ezator the Great.
So these are connected to Ezator?
Indeed they are. There are several of them throughout the realm, most of which have been lost for many, many years, at least since Ezator left this realm.
See, I'll have to do further research myself. One last question from me. How much do you know about the Scarlet Hand?
And he looks at you and says, well, Scarlet Hand is a formerly disbanded cult. The king forbade their practice of invoking the Living Isle's god Natar. And then they kind of went into hiding for many, many years This Tyrus, however, has brought them back, made them bold, reckless. They came to the ESS looking for information as well. Not here specifically, but in Nareen. We attempted to delay them as long as possible without costing too many lives of our people.
Well, I speak up and say, but why would the Scarlet Hand, who worshipped one god, completely abandon him in favor of another?
And he looks at you and says, well, it's just like any god. When a god falls out of favor and his followers stop following him, he's no longer a god, is he?
Belvedere nods.
Yes, moths will always fly to the biggest flame.
And he nods and says, thus is the case with Tyrus. When Tyrus first started making his appearances throughout the realm, though mostly rumored, the Scarlet Hand quickly clung to him. They knew that he was powerful and could offer them great things. As the Scarlet Hand's numbers continue to grow, so does Tyrus' strength.
But Tyrus is still hardly a god.
And he says, Tyrus is, well, to be quite honest, I'm not exactly sure what he is. He does walk amongst us. Generally, when gods ascend, they stop being amongst the living. Tyrus, on the other hand, remains in Toril, and death is following him no matter where he goes.
I see. Now, can you repeat that to my friend Avalana there?
And he nods and looks over at Avalana and says, perhaps sometimes it is better to not question the strength of gods and allow them to do as they please until you're prepared to do so.
And where the researchers you spoke of earlier?
What's that? Can you repeat?
Where are the researchers you spoke of earlier?
He looks and says, well, right around the corner in the other room. They're sitting at a table. I shouldn't be able to. You shouldn't miss them if you go into the room itself.
Okay. I turn to Belvedere, see if he's got any more questions.
Avalana kind of pipes up and says, I have a question, and reaches to her pocket and pulls out that note that she had gotten from the jail cell and says, can you tell me about this? And the Inquisitor looks at it for a second and looks back at Avalana a little quizzically and kind of says, well, now, isn't that interesting? You bring me, he says, you bring me a book of languages. I need to match these glyphs. And the spy over here, directly behind Vormash, quickly rushes over to the bookshelf and kind of scrambling through everything that's over there, and then quickly rushes back over to this guy and hands him the book. As kind of watch, he quickly thumbs through it, and it's like he's looking at glyphs on this page, and he kind of matches them up. And he says, that's where I've seen this before. He's like, this must be Seldrin, the language of the Elven High Magic. I assume this only based on the Haramfe alphabet, though reading this is impossible without the right context. Even this book only contains a few letters that match what you're looking for. You are looking for a language that is practically forgotten throughout the realm of Toril.
But can you find out what it says?
He looks back at you and says, well, I can't, but if anybody can, I'm certain the High Elves can do so.
The High Elf Council.
He nods and says, yes, the Gladamain may be able to assist in this case. They are very well versed in the comings and goings of the High Elf culture itself.
I see. Thank you.
Slavomir, kind of seeing all of this going on, says, "And what of these dragons? Are there dragons in the realm?" And the Inquisitor kind of chuckles and says, "That is an interesting little topic, isn't it? While there are no dragons within the realm itself, most of our information about the Dragon Wars is contained a lot of storytelling and not nearly enough facts. If you'd like to know more, perhaps you can look into a book titled 1001 Nights. Perhaps that may be useful for information about previous dragons that were here before."
Is that book among your inventory?
And he nods and says, "Yes, if you check the far west wall of our room here, you'll certainly find it, along with other books."
Yes, I'll be sure to make a note of that. And let's see. But those are all the questions I have. If Belvedere has any more questions.
Are those really all of the questions you have, Vormash?
Oh no, wait, I got one more. All right.
Evelana's in the
Is she?
in the
Okay.
show.
Okay. So, Bailey, you there?
Yes.
Yes? Cool. Okay, so I'm going to catch her up real quick, guys. So basically what has transpired so far, after everything that happened, you got this very bad sensation that the people of Falseharbor are no longer welcoming of you. A kind of shady individual quickly rushed you away through the inn into an underground enclave of an organization called the Ebon Spy Syndicate. While you are here, there is an Inquisitor, the head guy of this group, who is fielding questions from you. Any questions you may have whatsoever. If you, no matter what it's about, he will attempt to aid you in any way possible at the expense of the king. If you want information and there's something specific that you want to know, now is the time that you would ask. I have asked on your behalf, since you were not here, what the note was that you found off of Eleonora, or that Eleonora had dropped. At which point he explained that it was in the language of Celadrin, the language of the Elven High Magic. And it's almost impossible to read because anything that contained information about it is long gone in the past. However, he did point you to the High Elves of Kalido to go and speak to them, which would lead you to go to the Vladimane High Council once again.
Have you guys talked about Tyrus and all that kind of stuff?
Briefly, they kind of asked if he is actually a god, at which point the guy didn't know, mostly because the general consensus is when there's a god, that gods ascend and leave the realm, and they no longer are amongst the living, while Tyrus remains on the ground. He also asked about a very basic understanding of the Scarlet Hand. And what else do we have here? They asked about the coins that Vormash has found. Slavomir has asked about the Dragon Wars, or dragons in general. And the name of a wizard that Luthard kind of gasped before he passed out, by the name of Ezator. who has apparently is a well-known wizard throughout the realm.
All right. Well, other than the note, then I don't really have any questions if he doesn't know much about Tyrus either.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some questions, obviously. First off, based kind of on what we talked about in our private chat a couple days ago, DM, could I possibly, like, how much would Belvedere know about, like, the other ascended gods? Like, do you want me to make a roll to, like, determine that, or
To know of what? I'm sorry.
to know of, like, other ascended gods in the pantheon of Faerun?
You can give me a religion check. And with the assistance of Vormash, who is from the realm, he would also make mention of the god Natar, which was the Scarlet Hand's original god. That's really the only, aside from the normal pantheons throughout Toril, Natar and Tyrus are the only two that are unique to this realm.
Well, I was kind of inquiring more about, like, Belvedere's general knowledge of, like, cause I would assume he would know something about, like, the Raven Queen and, what's this, I can't think of his name, but he's the god of the Soriels. He's like the bard.
Oh yeah, yep.
Can't think of actual his name off the top of my head. I'm trying to blank. What would be? Sorry.
I was just wondering, what exactly are you wishing to know?
Well, just based off his general knowledge, he would bring up the fact that, like, Belvedere would say, like, well, as far as my knowledge of the gods are, the fact that he hasn't ascended yet means that, again, he's not a true god, with my estimation, and that there's still a lot to be done.
And he nods and says, yes, well, generally when a god ascends, they ascend because they have enough people following behind them. At this point, Tyrus, while he has gathered a very large following, has not gathered enough. And not only that, his power is still waning, and not quite where it needs to be before he could even achieve godhood to begin with. He kind of looks specifically at you, Belvedere, and says, you're quite on the right path with Tyrus, but I can assure you that he is, if he has not ascended yet, he's going to soon, and if he plans to do so, he's going to need to search for the Shards of Twilight.
The Shards of Twilight?
And he nods and says, yes, our enclave in Nareen had returned word that Tyrus was in search of one of the Shards of Twilight there. They had been searching Izator's tomb in the Winter Labyrinth in Kurth, but they had yet to find anything. Our records indicated that they are also looking at other shrines throughout the land. Tyrus believed them to have some sort of divine power located within them called the Shards of Twilight. Perhaps he knows even more than we give him credit for.
Well, you can't know that much if, as you say, it's true and he hasn't found your location here yet.
And he nods and says, yes, but it's quite possibly because of the strength of Izator's magic. Again, I highly suggest that if you have questions about Izator, that you direct it to our researchers who have every bit of information possible at this time about Izator's magical properties of his items and his abilities itself.
Yes, we will do that. I just have one more question before we go.
And he nods and looks at you.
I assume word's gotten out about our infiltration of the cultist mansion.
And he nods and says, if it has not, it will soon.
Well, when we were in the dungeon freeing a prisoner, a mysterious woman was there as well, searching for something. And I try to describe to him what she looked like her appearance, what she wore, and everything.
And he kind of thinks about it and taps the guy directly behind him on his shoulder and points at the bookshelf almost directly behind him. And you watch as he kind of walks over, kind of thumbs through things, kind of remembering this description in his head. And he's thumbing through the book and then quickly turns around and walks back over to the Inquisitor and hands it to him. And he says, wait, is this her? And he turns this book around and shows you a picture, and it looks exactly like this woman.
Yes, that's her.
Says, and you're certain that you saw her here in Falseharbor?
We saw her in the dungeon of the cultist mansion.
She
Yeah.
assisted us in battle with the guards.
Kind of raises an eyebrow and then kind of looks around the room. And it says, surprises me that she was here and you're still standing here. That, my friends, was Commander Cassara Argent, the second in command to the Victus and the militia leader of the Alliance. No doubt she was here scouting for information. Or looking for someone.
Cassara, you said?
Cassara Argent. I will post it in chat.
The enemy?
Yes, the number 2 person amongst the Alliance.
Man, we should have killed her. That would have made us look really good in front of the king.
I look very incredulously at Avalana, and I'm like, I don't believe we probably would have been able to, or it would have been one hell of a fight that I don't think all of us would have walked away from.
Hindsight's 20/20.
And the Inquisitor nods at Belvedere and says, if you've not already seen her capabilities in battle, then believe me, it is a sight to behold. Miss Argent is quite the militia assassin and leader, and an incredible tactician on the battlefield. Had you stepped toe-to-toe with her, I'm certain none of you would be here today.
Belvedere nods and looks again at Avalana, and then says to the Inquisitor, it's like, indeed. Unfortunately, I don't think some of my companions have a grasp on foresight in some situations.
Slavomir looks at you and says, what do you mean? I've plenty insight into battle.
I think he was talking about me.
What if
Bill
you say,
just- Belvedere just shakes his head. I would like to know. I ask the Inquisitor. You said there was a similar situation happened within the confines of the Alliance. Tyrus also happened to mention our counterparts.
And he nods and says, yes, hundreds within the city of Nareen were killed at will. He literally just walked by, and similar to what he had done with Luthard, and just at will, people started dropping like flies as he made his way towards the cistern, or away from the cistern and into the citadel. And once he got there, eventually took the life of one of the adventurers from your opposing side.
Our opposing side? You mean the alliance has formed their own group in which to rally the troops, so to speak.
And he nods and says, indeed. You didn't think you were the only people here that were strong warriors that were being called upon by the leaders of the realm.
Belvedere says that, of course not, but I find it rather surprising that, or interesting that we'd have a direct counterpart, so to speak.
He nods and says, desperate times and all that. It's kind of hard to blame them for wanting to gather the best warriors they possibly can, especially when they knew that the king would be doing so himself.
Yes, something like that would be the most bizarre thing to happen.
Belvedere speaks up again. What can you tell me would be possibly happening in 12 days' time?
And he looks at you and says, well, if what I'm seeing is any indication of the reports from Noreen and the onslaught of the undead in Kalido that you once fought, I fear the worst for our realm and perhaps many of the cities. If he is saying the Living Isle is going to fall, then he has every intention of destroying it.
What I'm asking is there anything in particular about the coming weeks that is there any significance, or
he looks at you and says, no, there's no significance to it. Perhaps it's just a date that he picked out in his head. Perhaps he had gotten tired of the qualms and the quarrels of the leaders within the realm and decided to take matters into his own hand. There's no way to really understand a man such as Tyrus.
I have a question.
And he turns and looks at you and says, yes.
Okay, first, do you think that maybe that line he gave at Cleto was him saying like he was like, oh, everyone's gonna die in so many days? Do you think that that's him saying like, I'm gonna ascend in so many days? You think that's maybe what he's hinting to?
And he looks at you and says, that's quite an interesting theory. I honestly believe that if he's saying that the Living Isles are going to fall, then what he has shown so far, especially in Noreen and now here in Falseharbor, this was just a show of force. If this is what he's capable of at a whim, can you imagine what he would do if he just had a little time on his hands?
I'd rather not.
That wasn't really an answer, but second question. Do you think that before he's full ascended, we could, like, kill him?
And he thinks for a second and says, the hardest part about somebody who believes they are a god is that they find easy ways to escape problems that they might have. Though you may want to kill him right now, based on what we have seen, there is no way you are capable of doing so. You will require the Shards of Twilight if you are to take him down, though. You have to find them before he does, or else it will be too late.
Okay, guys, I know what we're doing next.
where do we find these Shards of Twilight that you speak of?
And he looks over at you and says, well, Tyrus seems to believe that they're located within shrines. We, on the other hand, haven't fully connected the dots to all of that. Our records currently indicate that there are 4 shrines within Clycure Island if you would like to give them a search.
And where would these be?
And he looks at you and says, well, the first was the Holy Shrine of Tyrus, which you already have made yourself acquainted with. Then there's the Temple of the Weave, the Tomb of Ichorus has Fallen, and the Shrine of Natar. The problem is half of them are just hidden from plain sight.
Sorry, what was that second one that you said?
I will give you a list.
Most excellent, sir.
What if my note says something about the night shards?
So, as I kind of explained, the note, he basically told you it's a language that is not well known and is kind of abandoned throughout the realm. Most people have no idea how to read it. The only reason he could read it was because he had a book that had a couple of glyphs that he can match up to it, but it didn't have the full language.
So what does the note say then?
And that's when he instructed you that you'll need to speak to the Gladamain High Council to find out, because they are the only ones that would be connected enough to High Elven culture to be able to give you that information.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe the note I have says something about those shards. And so we should get the note deciphered.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely a possibility. You should consider taking that to somebody to get it translated.
If there are no other important questions, I'm going to go to where he said the researchers were and start researching.
And if you guys wanted to ask other questions about the temples themselves, there's some information. It's not a ton, but there is some information available on that as well.
I'll leave that in the hands of my comrades. I'm going to go start researching on Exetor.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask and get kind of the information on the shrines and stuff.
Okay. Which one specifically?
You said one with a W, didn't you?
Yep, they're all listed in chat. The three other than the Holy Shrine of Tyrus.
The Argent Temple of the Weave.
Mm-hmm.
I've already added them to my notepad.
Yep, Temple of the Weave, the Tomb of Icorus is fallen.
Temple of the Weave. I want to know about Temple of the Weave.
Okay, and he says, well, the Temple of the Weave is one of them that we have lost many centuries ago. Mistra, the goddess of magic, has hidden the temple from would-be intruders. Our most recent records indicate that it can be found somewhere to the west, though some stories are very conflicting and say that they're out near the keep, while others say it's far deeper into what's line? Hold on. Trying to remember the name of that area. The Sapphire Woodlands to the far west. Formosh, as you round the corner, coming into this other room, where you see these two kind of researchers, spies just like the others, but sitting at a table, and they're kind of discussing things in kind of a hushed tone as you kind of approach into that room.
Gentlemen?
And their speech, as you kind of overhear it, it alternates a bit between common and a tongue that you've never heard before. Almost seems as though it's a language that these individuals have come up with themselves to keep secrets. And as you kind of approach, the one to the east here looks over at you and says, "Are you here to learn about Isidore the Great?"
Yes, and also how these are connected, and I pull out the coins.
It is not Thieves' Cant.
Oh, really?
It's similar. It's a language that they created themselves to hide certain information in kind of plain sight. It's like their own cryptic language that they've developed themselves. Not thieves can't, but kind of like thieves can't. Yes, exactly. So you asked about Ezator, right? And then how he's connected to the coins.
Yeah.
Okay. He kind of looks at you and says, well, no doubt you have heard of Ezator, correct?
Can I roll to see if I've heard of him?
Yes, you can give me a history check. Oh,
Nat
yeah.
20.
You have 100% absolutely heard of him because Ezator is perhaps the greatest wizard to have ever lived amongst the realm. No wizard, short of gods themselves, hold so much power at their fingertips. The reason he is not widely celebrated is by choice, as I'm sure you are aware.
You speak of the great Ezator, practically the greatest wizard in the world.
And he nods and says, many don't know this, but Ezator came to the aid of Ichorus, wishing to help bring peace to the realm and banish the evil dragon Rythes. When Rythes had fallen, Ezator used his abilities to build up another being, a warrior, by the name of Natar. Natar would go on to become worshipped through folklore and the like, though his worshippers would eventually lead to his ascension to godhood. Ezator, however, would go into hiding, working tirelessly to find ways to protect the Isles. He feared a second coming far worse than Rythes himself, and thus he created the Shards of Twilight.
I see. And can you tell me more about the Shards of Twilight?
He nods and says, the shards are... how can I put this? Dangerous. They are very well hidden, and far beyond what mortal magic could ever detect. They are formed of the blackest crystal your eyes have ever seen, and they are sentient, choosing their bearers should the time come. Their powers, however, remain a mystery, though it is known that there is one associated to all of the schools of magic throughout the realm.
Can they be destroyed?
He looks at you and says, in this case, if what you're trying to do is take down a god, you're going to need the aid of these shards.
Yes, I know, but I'd like to think of all possibilities in the scenario. If we can't find all of them, could we destroy them before Tyrus gets to them?
Well, the hardest problem is that we don't really know all of their locations. We know of some of them, and some are rumored. We know that they're spread throughout all of the Living Isles, and not just here within Clycair. If you can possibly find them, keeping them from a god would be as easy as connecting yourself to them. And should you die, then we're dealing with a tragedy far greater than just him getting his hands on the shards.
Fair enough. And how are these coins connected to Ezator?
He grabs one of the coins and looks at it for a second, and he says, here, look right here. And he kind of points to this little marking in one of the corners of the coin and says, I know a man that may know something about this. To the southwest, there's a village. very small village called Lomera. Meet with Gruprix the Great. He's the head wizard of the Wizard's Playground. I'm sure the two of you will get along famously. When you meet him, show him this coin, specifically with this part of it faced towards him. He'll know exactly what it is and what to do with it.
And yes, thank you. I will let him know.
And he looks at you and says, if you're looking for the shards, however, I would start by speaking with Lady Gladamain. She may know of at least one of them. I don't know if it's true or not, but it was rumored that the realm was given a shard during the dedication of the Shrine of Ichorus. But certainly they wouldn't have left such an artifact out in the open, right?
No, there is such a thing as hiding in plain sight, but I'll let her know.
And he nods. Okay. Avalana, what questions do you have?
I wanted to get information about the Tomb of Ichor's Fallen and the other one as well.
The Shrine of Natar?
And stuff like that.
Okay. He looks at you and says, the Tomb of Ichorus has fallen. While we don't have an exact location, we can at least lead you to the Shrine of Ichorus. It stands tall within the sanguine hinterlands. Nobody has ever seen the rumored tomb. If I had to guess, your best bet would be to speak to Martavir, the half-dragon who overlooks the city of Talcara, and I will give you their names.
Can you write down the name of the forest as well?
The Sapphire Woodlands.
No, the other
Yep.
forest that you just said.
The sanguine hinterlands is a desert.
Oh, hinterlands?
Yay, desert! Time to get sand in my armor.
I dread the desert.
There you go.
So Belvedere is going to ask about Natar in particular, not just like the shrine, but also as like what information they might have specifically about him, if any at all, since no one else seems to have any.
And as you kind of ask this question, specifically looking for information about Natar itself, he kind of looks at you and says, Natar was, as I'm sure you have heard by now, just a normal man who fought within the Dragon Wars so many years ago. And when the fighting was done, it was rumored that he was the one that struck the final blow to kill Raithis. This led to him becoming a bit of a folk legend. People celebrated him and followed him around, eventually to the point of almost becoming his slaves or his servants. Over time, this would kind of grow to his head, and he would find himself ascending to godhood, seeking powers far greater than he ever deserved. It is believed that he had a shrine to the southwest. Not many have seen the shrine. Once Natar's banishment had become the past ruling within the realm, the shrine itself kind of faded out of existence and out of the mouths of those who knew of it. And as such, finding it has been rather difficult. We've sent people to the southwest searching the forest there, but we haven't found anything just yet.
So just located in the southwest. That's it.
Yep, that's all he has given you. He said that he believes that it is in a forest to the southwest. though they have searched the forest and cannot find it.
About the goddess of magic, does she have like many worshippers and stuff? Mistra?
He nods and says, Mistra is one of the most well-known goddesses throughout the entire planet of Toril. If you are a magic user, you know of Mistra, and you know of her power. She is the one that keeps balance of magic, and all beings within the realm that contain magic, or use magic to their power.
Now, I'm not much of a person who prays or knows much about religion at all, but can't someone who's like really buddy-buddy with her just like ask her where she hid the temple?
Perhaps, if you could speak with gods themselves. But I have a feeling that asking a god where she hides a holy temple would probably raise a few eyebrows, don't you think?
I don't know, I just thought like clerics and gods were close or something.
He nods and says, generally yes, but there are some things you simply do not ask gods, and if they are wishing to give you their blessings, then in due time you will find the things that you're looking for.
Belvedere gives Evelyn a very queer look.
Warmish will just keep to himself. He's still in the research place, but...
Okay. He kind of looks around and asks, is there anything else?
If I was to ask Mistra, would she smite me?
If you could reach Mistra, then I don't think she would. I can't speak for the gods, dear. I wish I could, but you see, reaching a god to begin with is very difficult, and to get an answer such as what you're looking for, you would have to be face to face with one, which means you would need to somehow perform planar travel to get to a different dimension or a different realm to be able to do so.
Oh, I thought you just like prayed or something, and then like you had like a phone call, whatever that is.
And he looks over at Belvedere and says, perhaps you can ask Belvedere how deities work. He may know a thing or two about them. Is that correct, follower Atir?
He just kind of looks
Sorry,
at
guys.
the Inquisitor and just nods a little bit. I know what I need to know.
He kind of looks around, says, well, very well. Anything within this room is yours to explore. And he kind of pats his hands on top of this globe in front of him and says, we only ask that if you are to remove anything that you notify us first before doing so. Wouldn't want information floating around in the public eye without our permission. Oh, next time you visit us, we'll be asking for payment up front. And he starts walking away. His expression changing from a very welcoming expression that you have seen this entire time to a very deadpan expression. And as he kind of walks past, heading back towards his office, and as he's walking in that direction without even turning to look back at you, he says, and when you're finished here, there are several cots outside the chambers that you are welcome to sleep on. You should be safe for the overnight, but in the morning, Aaron will lead you through the well to the outside chambers. It's wide enough you'll fit through, and at the bottom of the well is a cavern with a small boat. Be sure to exit that way. We wouldn't want people to start nosing around our facility, now would we?
No, we certainly wouldn't. Thank you. I try to yell at him as he's leaving.
And with that, we're going to take a short 5-minute break, and then you guys figure out what you're wanting to do while you're still in this room, and then we'll go from there. So I'll be right back. Be right back, guys.
All right, sounds good.
Info dump. For the record, Avalon, if you're still there.
Yeah?
Belvedere is not happy. It also was almost ready to like not follow the guy.
What do you mean?
But after seeing like what happened and the implications and the fact that like where this dude's like, "Hey, come with me," that's from Ash. Like he wasn't like was not very willing to like go along with it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, one of Vormesh's flaws is that as long as he gets some sort of knowledge out of it, he'll do whatever. So he was fine following this guy because he promised information.
I'm back, guys. All right, lots and lots of information, just like our alliance session. These guys have plenty of stuff that they're going to take on here and think about and talk about and everything else. So, going to be kind of exciting. Again, the Sage, thank you for subscription over on YouTube. We have not gotten anything on Mixer or Twitch. Nope, we're good to go. So yeah, thankful to have all of you here. I hope you're enjoying so far. It's been a bit of fun. If you are not already doing so, make sure you are following our social media, our Twitter account. That is where we will post all of our updates, keep you up to date on everything that is going on in all of our games and all of our campaigns, so that you can kind of stay up to date and
I'm back.
make sure that you're here and ready to go and watch some more D&D. Other than that, that's about it. I am here. As I mentioned, I was certain that the moment that I said we have information that you would be like, we're doing that.
No, yeah, that's why I was so cooperative with the guy, and Belvedere didn't trust him. I trusted him immediately. Promised information.
Yep.
Avalana's probably willing to do anything at the moment because she feels super guilty for killing herself and Lavomir and like 10 villagers.
Those villagers, the living villages, are really upset with us.
By the way, you weren't here, so you need to go back and watch the start of this. But I laid it on fucking thick of how bad you guys should feel about everything that happened.
Trust me, I feel bad already, and I haven't watched it.
Vormesh was only there for like 10 seconds, and he feels a little guilty.
I wish I had the wish spell.
Oh, in his head, he didn't know those villagers, so he could probably sleep it off. Don't tell him I told you that.
Avalana's gonna have is gonna be scarred for life because of that. I can tell you if that makes you feel better.
Well, better to have nightmares than dead.
There are worse things to come.
I'm so thrilled.
Belvedere, are you there? No. Now it's gonna get interesting. Gotta open a bunch of windows because there's a lot of stuff to go that's about to happen here.
How long, like, before you even announced this, did it take you to come up with all this?
I've been writing this. So I wrote the initial scenario of Falseharbor, where it was your main enemy was Kasara, and it was a one-shot. And all it was you were going to, you took Eleonora with you, and you were trying to basically rid the cultists out of the city or out of the village, and then you learned stories with Eleonora along the way, and that was really all it was. Everything else that has happened, I created or I started writing when I first announced it to you guys.
Okay.
Everything that just happened today, I added in after the entire scenario last week, after the end of session 5. All of this entire scene I wrote in like a day, gathering all the information together, giving you guys the opportunity to meet the Ebb and Spy Syndicate, which the other party did as well in their session, so that you can start to get information as well. Because I felt that that would help you, and it would help to keep or give you guys multiple paths that you can explore and try to find information for. Because you can literally, there are at least 3 cities where you can go right now and do things in. And then there are 2 cities that you can go into and gather more information or find out other things, or, you know, relay other stories along the way. And then I'm still writing an additional 3 cities, or 3 stops for you guys. And then the Imperial or the Alliance side has 2 more cities I have to write. So yeah, I've been writing all of this as the campaign is going.
I have a quick question I want to ask, but maybe you can't answer it.
Okay.
So I have to spell speak with plants. So if we went to the forest that the Temple of the Weave is in, could I technically ask the plants if the temple is there?
I mean, technically you could go to any location and use that spell and ask. They wouldn't be able to give you that kind of an answer, though. They would be able to, even if they could tell you where it is, because of what you know of it right now, it is not in plain sight. Nobody can find it. So it would take a bit of extra work to be able to find it. But you do have the information. You have all of the information you need to be able to find where this is and how to access it. All right, I'm going to grab a soda real quick. I'll be right back, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, I only asked you about the campaign because I'm currently in the middle of writing my own. It's a one-shot, but it's my first time doing it.
I'm running a campaign as well, and it's very frustrating.
This has actually been nothing but a joy for me. And you have to remember, I'm not just writing for you guys, but I'm writing stories for the other side too. I think I'm at almost 100,000 words right now. It's something ridiculous like that. And that doesn't even include the finale of how everything's gonna go.
Damn. Yeah, I'm currently writing a one-shot. It's my first time doing one.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I can tell you, if you are doing a one shot and you are looking to build the dungeon, follow the 5-room dungeon layout. Do a search for it, you'll find it. It works really well for one shots. It keeps the length it keeps it short enough that they can finish it within one session, and you'll be really happy with the results.
All right, yeah, sounds good.
All right, so you kind of look around the southern portion of this main chamber, and you find several interesting objects that immediately stand out to you. Near the middle of the chamber, where you guys are standing right now, is a pretty large globe of the planet of Toral. And then, let's see, what do we got? It says it's, resting on top of a rug in the middle of the chamber. To the west, a workbench, littered with a pile of documents, notebooks, and other pieces of parchment, as well as a map on the southern portion of the table. As you glance around the room and at the bookshelves, you notice a bit of a trend. The bookshelves to the far west, as the Inquisitor mentioned, are all pertaining to the Living Isles, while the other books are just general information about the planet of Toral. Now it is up to you. Do you wish to investigate any of these things?
Yeah, I've just typed on Belvedere. Would like to look at the table that he's standing right by.
Okay. What things are you looking at?
Probably the documents first.
All right. Give me an investigation check.
I want to help him look too.
All right. With advantage then.
I would like to try to find books on the Sanguine Hinterlands and the Sapphire Forest.
Nailed it.
Absolutely nailed it. So on the bench in front of you, you notice that some of the documents look almost identical. Upon closer inspection, you are starting to notice a pattern. The documents themselves are military orders, addressed to both the Empire and the Alliance militia. Though they are duplicates, and they contain varying amounts of information between them. Many of the orders enclosed reveal battle positions and tactics, while others appear to be forgeries to get additional spies within the militia ranks. Other notes that are transcribed for internal use are very cryptic, using the language that this organization has put together themselves, so you're not able to really decipher anything from them.
Is there any way I can research like their language or try and find a way to translate it?
You could, but it would take you a long time. The best way I can describe this, consider how encryption works with a computer and how trying to crack an encryption takes a very, very long time to do so. That's what this is. This is encrypted in a way that it is almost nearly impossible without knowing all of the finer details of their language itself to be able to figure it out.
If I were to cast comprehend language, could I understand it?
Not without previously knowing something about the language. You have no idea what this language actually is.
When Belvedere sees this, the basically encrypted, like, bits, you hear it, he quietly says under his breath, "God damn thieves can't."
I go over to, or I turn my head to the nearest spy, and I go, "Is it possible for you to translate this for us?"
And he turns and looks at you and says, "Do you have enough gold?"
How much?
30,000 gold would be sufficient.
Unfortunately, that's not, we don't have that much.
And he nods and says, "Yes, information like this is demanded by kings, knights, and other nobles throughout the realm. It's not something that normal individuals would be concerned with.
Yes, of course. Excuse me for one moment. I huddle Belvedere over and I go, do you think we could get the king to pay for this? These are military strategies from the Alliance.
Are all the strategies and stuff encrypted? I don't think so.
No, they have basic information on them, but it's hard to decipher which ones are legit and which ones are the fake information. So because of the way these are written, you could tell they're forgeries, and they're talking about the same locations, but on one of them it'll have a certain day or time and certain number of people and what the current strategy is, and then on the other one it'll say something entirely different, and there's no way of knowing which one's accurate. And in some cases they make multiples of them because they're spreading them or being told to spread them throughout the realm to other leaders to throw them all off.
What if we were to send the Alliance side fake forgery battle plans of the Empire's strategies?
Honestly, I think the guild here is already probably doing that.
And the guy to the north kind of looks back at Belvedere and kind of does the whole finger to the nose thing and then turns right back around and keeps going about his business.
I'll mention this to the king, see if he knows about this. Is there anything else on the table?
There is a map.
I'll check out that map.
I
Okay.
will assist.
Same thing. Give me an investigation check.
And that is good.
19.
Yeah. So, both of you see this, but more specifically, Vormash, you catch this. Hey, Husky. As you're kind of looking at this map, obviously it's the Living Isles itself, and the map contains various bits of information pertaining to it almost looks like numbers of very specific areas. As you look over the map itself and you start checking some of the other items on the bench, it looks like that the numbers, they're far too low for a population, and perhaps they indicate the number of militia within each city.
Militia for what is like who's militia?
Everybody's. It's the entire Living Isles. They have an exact number of militia members available in every city.
Belvedere would like to try and commit this to memory.
Okay.
Can I have my pen and parchment in my pack. Can I try and copy that?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you do so, the spy directly to your side walks over and kind of looks and says, "I found something interesting, did you?"
Yes. I am interested in this.
He says, "Well, whatever you do, protect that. That's very important information, and you wouldn't want that to get out in the public, now would you?"
Absolutely. And I never got it from here.
And he nods and says, "You understand how this business works. Sometimes we can't trust people, and especially in this situation, when it comes to matters of military, it's very important that we keep it secret, that we know everything that we know."
What business? And I give him a wink.
He nods and kind of turns away and starts walking back towards this other bookshelf.
Do I need to roll for how accurate I copy it?
You can give me a sleight of hand check.
I think I got some crayons in here.
So as you're writing this down, you're writing it down quickly as you can, and you're using your pen and the ink and the quill, and as you're writing, it's going really well and everything's making sense. And then you kind of put it in your pocket, and as soon as you put it in your pocket, you're like, "Damn it!" And you reach down and you grab it, and you notice that all of the ink that was on that wasn't dry, and it's smeared, and it makes it very hard to read.
I go to Belvedere, and perhaps you, perhaps you're a better artist than I am.
Evelana, what are you looking for?
I would like to try to find books on the Sapphire Forest and the Sanguine Hinterlands and just read about those areas.
What specifically are you looking for? Are you looking for information about the shrines?
Yeah, like maybe what areas they've searched and stuff like that.
Okay. As you're kind of looking over this, the Sanguine Hinterlands is very well renowned that they have the shrine of Ichorus, which is right dead in the center, or on the entry into the town itself. It is very well known because it is a very unique statue. The statue itself is probably about 50 or 60 feet tall, and it's a depiction of two dragons fighting, one protecting a bunch of humanoids by spreading its wings and kind of protecting them from fire, as the other one flies overhead and is shooting fire down on it. This is also the shrine that you believe was given the shard of Twilight during its dedication. But you don't really, again, it's hard to believe that they would leave a powerful gem like that out in the open. The other, as you're looking for information about the Sapphire Woodlands, you kind of look through and you're not really finding a whole lot. And then you find a book talking about the village of Elotiran, which lays out within the realm, and perhaps the individuals there once noted as keepers of the temple of the Weave. Perhaps they might have some information that you could gather from them.
All right.
Belvedere, would you like to try copying this information down?
Belvedere kind of frowns, is like, unfortunately, things of finesse are not necessarily my strong suit.
Well, I'm sure you can do better than I did. Just go on, give it your best shot. I hand him my parchment and pen.
I guess I'll try to copy it down.
Okay. Sleight of hand check.
Oh God. Do you want to assist me with this, Formash?
He cannot assist you because he
already
attempted it himself.
I already tried.
Shit.
Hey, look at that. All right, so unlike your wizard counterpart, you were able to quickly scribble down the cities, the numbers, and other information such as that. You don't worry so much about the map itself, just of the numbers and what cities they're located, because the names of the cities are far more important than where they are on a map.
Indeed.
Slavomir, attempting to check this bookshelf looking for this dragon war book, isn't able to find anything. So he's just kind of fumbling around. Obviously, he has a little bit of trouble trying to read anything.
I'll see if I see him struggling. I'll walk over and say, "Give me a look at that. If you want to do me a favor, see if you can't find anything on Tyrus for me."
Okay. So you're gonna come over and do the same kind of search through the books here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also want to grab that book, so I'll try and read it or look into it later.
So go ahead and and just for reference, if I send you anything, I think I've already mentioned this, but if I send you anything that actually has writing for a book, you can only read it on long or short rest.
Right.
So yes, you are welcome to come over and take a look at what is over here.
Investigation?
Yep, investigation. Yeah. So yeah, kind of search around the bookshelves. You find several tomes related to the different leaders of the realm. Some stolen notebooks and journals and stuff with various amounts of handwriting and such. 2 books catch your eye, one of which you already have seen or you already know of, titled A Song of Cults and Tribes. The other one you do find is the 1001 Nights, the Dragon Wars. And as you kind of pull this out and dust it off, kind of look over at Slavomir, and he kind of grins and gets ready to go take it, and then thinks, and he's like, perhaps you're better at reading such things than I am.
I'll nod and say I'll try my best to find anything that can help us out.
And you are now going to be given this. So you now have the table of contents. You feel free to thumb through and figure out which ones you want to read of.
Should have been a lot of reading to do.
Right?
Man, I want to find a book.
You're asking like the wrong questions, and I want you to ask the right questions or look for the right things, but I'm not gonna just give it to you. I'm sorry.
I wonder if she's just gonna do like a quick sweep around of the whole place, see if there's a book that interests him.
Give me a perception check.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. No. All right. That's a nice looking globe.
Oh man. Okay. So yeah, you walk over to the globe, this large 3-foot or so diameter globe that sits in the middle of the room, that displays most of the lands known throughout Toril. There are some areas that are kind of blacked out where people have no idea what it actually is or what lays in that area. But you kind of spin it around, and unknowingly you're kind of searching and searching, and then you finally stumble across this little bitty group of islands in the middle of the trackless sea. Hard to actually see anything off of it, but they're just these little tiny islands, and you recognize that to be the Living Isles, of which you're on right now.
Avalana, look. It's the Living Isles.
Can I try to... So the guy had a book about the language my note was written in, right? That's how he knew it was that language?
He had a book of lost languages, and it was just like 2 or 3 glyphs of that specific language. It wasn't like an actual, like, you know, every single letter in the alphabet. It only had a couple of them, and that's the only way he was able to identify what it was.
Can I go up to one of the spies?
Okay.
Do you have a way to get to Colito really fast?
And he kind of looks at you and says, well, you can always take the boat and travel around the isle and make your way over towards Colito. Take about a day or so to get there by sea, but you should be able to make it there in due time.
Yeah, I'm wary of boats. I got attacked by a baby kraken last time.
He kind of laughs and says, don't worry, if you stay close to the isles, you'll be fine. You won't have to worry about a kraken. They don't come this close to land.
So, a day on the boat versus how long on land?
Getting to Toledo, you're a day to Stormholm Keep, and then another day to Toledo. So, here's what I'll do, because we're kind of at that point right now. Let's throw you guys over to the map. I want to do this because I want you guys to understand everything that is going on and everything that you have heard so far. So far, this is what you have learned. Vormash, you have learned that to the southwest of Falseharbor is the village of Lomera, which is where you can find Gruprix the Great. He is the wizard who may be able to tell you a little something about those tokens that you carry. The Sanguine Hinterlands are to the northwest, found here. Should you travel in that direction, you're going to have to... you could maybe cut a little bit of time out and make it a day and a half to Toledo if you go through the harsh way. But if you go that way, you're going to be rolling random encounters for every few hours that you're out there. If you want to stick to the road, it'll take you a day. You'll end up near Stormholm Keep. You might as well, go there, regroup, and then head north. Possibly talk to the king if you wanted to do so. But otherwise, that's your path towards Sanguine Hinterlands, is going that direction. You also have the Sapphire Woodlands and Elotiran, which is off to the west over here. Currently, those are the areas of which you are aware and you know of. There are others that are rumored, but no actual locations just yet for them. If you have any questions about these locations, let me know.
I want to go to the rest of the group, and I'm going to tell them that since I made a really bad decision a few hours ago, I'll go with the group, but I really, really want to go to Toledo. So that's just my 2 cents. And I just tell the others that. But since I got a bunch of people killed, I'm not going to be making any big decisions anytime soon.
Yeah, and to kind of put it into perspective, you're looking at like a 6-hour trek from Falseharbor to Lomera. You're looking at a day from Falseharbor to Stormholm Keep, and 2 days to Toledo, 2 days to the Sapphire Woodlands, 3 days to get to the Sanguine Hinterlands. If you decide to take a boat, which you will be exiting from Falseharbor over here, you could take a boat and possibly skirt around the outside edge, maybe dock over in this area here, and then take the road up to Toledo and make that a day's journey to get there instead of 2 days by going by road.
Well, obviously I'm very interested in Lomera because that's where I can find more about these tokens.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, once we get to Lomera, it's going to be a really long trip back to Toledo. But Belvedere, what are your thoughts? Time is an important factor here.
As it stands, we know where we need to be within 12 days' time.
Yes, you do.
I think we should probably go with what we know for certain over what we are still trying to figure out. And probably after we return to Stormholm, our best option would be to travel north back to Toledo. And as much as I hate the desert, find the shrine within the Sanguine Hinterlands.
Taking the boat to Toledo would be quick, about a day.
Mm-hmm.
But we're really gonna have to go back to Stormholm Castle at some point.
Well, I'd rather not go back to the king until after I find out more about the coins in Lomera. Is why I'm hesitant to return to Stormhold.
I'm a little hesitant to tell him that we found and then lost his friend too.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna have much of a choice either way.
Yeah, either way, he
did a little bit of time.
But he's certain to have heard about this. By the time you get there, word's going to travel fast. There are people coming in and out of the village of Falseharbor all the time.
He doesn't have to see my face.
Yeah, word will travel fast, no matter what you do.
I don't need to get executed. I'm too young to die.
So it's probably best we return to the king with at least some good news.
But like I said before, I'll do whatever the group wants.
Then maybe the best bet, or best option then is to travel to Lomera first before we head back to Stormhold. At least it's on the way. I'd rather not go completely out of the way without. Well, frankly, we do have to answer for our actions as a group, regardless of what individual people did. Right?
And the
It
thing,
takes a very long look at Ivalana when I say that.
the thing you'll have to remember as well is you're much closer to Lomera. You can travel to Lomera, try to find the information that you're looking for, and then quickly travel off to Stormhold Keep. It'll be roughly, depending on how much time you spend in Lomera, you're looking at it still about a day, maybe a day and a half at most, to get to Stormhold Keep, depending, again, how long you spend in Lomera. Once you get to Lomera and you figure out what you're going to do, if you wanted to travel to the keep, talk to the king, and then head up to Kalido, you're looking at about a 2-day process. Maybe just a smidge more than 2 days. Maybe you'll get there in the evening instead of the morning, whenever you finally reach Kalido. And then you can spend the evening in Kalido and gather your bearings and such, and then head over to Sanguine Hinterlands and figure out what you're going to do there. But the thing you have to remember, whatever you do is going to take time. If you're going to travel out of Falseharbor, it'll be fast for you to get to Lomera because you'll be on a boat and you'll be able to come into Lomera down here to the south, and that'll take half a day at most to get over there, versus taking almost a full day if you go by the road.
Okay, guys, how about we do the boat to Lomera, then we go to Stormhold, then we go to Kalido, then we go to Sanguine.
Yeah, because you're looking at half a day by boat to Lomera, and then a little more than half a day from Lomera to Stormhold. So yeah, that way you're kind of following a path too, if you wanted to do that. But again, you're more than welcome if you wanted to beeline it straight to Kalido and go and talk to the council, to the Gladamain High Council. You are more than welcome to do that as well. As I said, this is completely up to you guys. At this point, you have all the information that I can give to you, and you can go anywhere that's on that map right now.
I like Avalana's plan for course, and if at all possible, maybe we could somehow get a boat and travel straight to the Sapphire Woodlands, which would basically we'll have visited all the locations and then return back to Stormhold and possibly inform the king once again, hopefully with good news.
So what you could possibly do is you could take the boat, because you're going to have to take the boat anyways out of Falseharbor. They've already told you there's no way you're going through the city or the village because the villagers will want to kill you. You'll take the boat, leave from here, and wrap around to Lomera. Since it's going to be docked in Lomera, you can then, from that point, get back on that boat and travel all the way around to Kalido if you wanted to. It'll be a little longer just because of the distance between Lomera and Falseharbor. So you're still looking at about a day to get there, a little more than a day. So yeah, if you wanted to do that, you could do that as well.
Well, what we could do is ride the boat to Lomera, and then when we get to Lomera, maybe like find a horse or like a wagon or something to like speed our expedition.
Well, if you're wanting to keep a boat, so to give you an idea, you guys are familiar with Toledo. You know that it's built into a mountainside. The Sanguine Hinterlands and the village of Talcara is very much the same. There are a lot of housing built within the mountainside itself, while the rest of the city is built within just a desert area. The Sanguine Hinterlands is more of a name for the area, not really the city, kind of similar to the Sapphire Woodlands, where it's the name of the area itself, where Elotiran is the name of the city that you would probably want to travel to there.
How about for the moment we just go to Lomera and we just figure out the rest after we're done with Lomera?
It's true. Depending on how much time has passed, we'll have made a decision by then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that the plan going forward? We're going to travel around the southern or southeastern edge of the isle to get over to Lomera?
Yes, we're going to take the boat to Lomera, and depending how much time we stay in Lomera, we're either going to maybe take the boat to Toledo or take a horse or a wagon to the Stormhall Castle to inform the king about what we found.
Alrighty. All right. A second here. All right, so we're going to travel to Lomera. I need to copy your tokens because I don't have them on the map there. 1 second. Bloop, bloop. Yeah. Copy this to... Oh, right. I forgot that's coming too. All right. So, let's pull you back over to this map here. I just moved you guys in a group here to just kind of be able to move you around the map where I need you at. So the plan, obviously, you want to take a short rest here, or a long rest here. You haven't long rested in a while, and they've offered a place for you to stay. As you kind of long rest here, let me pull up all the information I need. So you kind of make your way over towards the cots over in the corner here. Just kind of move you guys over in that direction where all the cots are. As you kind of make your way over here and each of you kind of hunker down for the night, Slavomir decides he's going to take first watch just to make sure, because obviously this is an unfamiliar territory for you guys, and he doesn't want any ambush or anything like that. So he offered to take first watch for the first few hours, and then possibly switch off with one of you afterwards.
He's got dark vision, right?
It doesn't matter. The torches will stay lit in this room.
Well, I want to use prestidigitation to snuff out the torches.
Okay. Then no. Wait, maybe he does? Let me look. I don't know his character well enough to know. Yes, he does. Because he's a half-orc, so yes.
Yeah, I'll snuff out the torches.
Okay.
Make sure we all get a good night's sleep.
All right.
I'll take second watch because I also have dark vision.
Okay, so you'll take second watch, and then either one of the others can take the final watch before morning time.
I don't have dark vision, so I'll take the last watch, so it'll be easy for me to see.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Belvedere would like to read as much as possible.
Yes, absolutely. Since you had found a book, which chapter would you like to read?
I'd like to read the first chapter 3 in the first book I found, the Tales of the Cults and such.
Okay.
Dragon cults, and then After I read that, I want to start reading the Dragon Wars book just from the beginning.
Okay. So you have chapter 3 now in your inventory. You'll have to wait until the next short rest, because you can't spend too much time doing this, because you're gonna have to actually sleep at some point because you're expected to be on watch.
Right.
So yeah, you have chapter 3 of the Song of Cults and Tribes in your book now, your inventory. And let me see if I'm prepared. I think I am. Yeah, I am. Okay, so you're doing that. You're going to call it a night. Everybody kind of goes to their own cots here and gets comfortable and kind of gets ready to sleep. And then Slavomir, staying up for watch for the night, kind of props himself up against the wall as you guys kind of get comfortable. However, all three of you, as you kind of fall asleep, kind of find yourself in a bit of a dream state. Vormash, your scene that you're looking at, the setting itself is very unfamiliar to you. Seems like a very large building that you're in, with a stairwell that basically goes between multiple levels of a building. To your north is a set of doors. As you kind of walk in, or as you appear within this room, you find that there are two men carrying on a conversation in hushed tones. The room itself, just a large stairwell. The smell of mildew kind of fills the air in here. The men stand mostly with their back to you, trying to kind of keep hidden a little bit. The man to the southeast here, however, very large man, grizzled, looks as though he's seen a lot of pretty harsh things. Because of your knowledge of the realm, you know him as Bo Victus, the leader of the Victus tribe. As you kind of watch him, he kind of turns and he's holding this little bottle of wine in his hand. And on closer inspection, as you kind of walk up, you notice that the label on this wine bears the king's crest.
Can I get a closer look and maybe eavesdrop on what they're saying?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna make a stealth check just so they don't notice me. Just gonna walk towards them.
Okay, go ahead and give me a stealth check.
Yep.
Okay. Noted. So what are you doing?
Just eavesdropping on their conversation. Just pretending like I'm not paying attention.
All right. So as you kind of walk up, like I said, you notice that Bo's holding this bottle of wine that bears the king's crest, and guy here to his side, wearing similar garb to the spies that you saw in your last endeavor, turns to him and says, "Are you sure about this? I mean, it's not like we're dealing with some random noble. We're talking about regicide. This is treason." And Bo kind of stops and thinks to himself for a moment, and then looks down at this bottle of wine, and a bit of concern flashes across his face, and he says, "Will she feel anything?" And the spy looks at him and says, "I'm sorry?" He says, "The queen. Will she feel anything?" And the individual looks at Bo a bit and says, "Aye, sir." Then Bo kind of hands this bottle back over to him and says, "Then your men will not act until I give the order. Do you understand?" What would you like to do?
I want to throw a firebolt at the wine.
Okay.
Wasted those nat 20s.
Yeah, early, right? So you kind of rear back and you get ready to throw this firebolt, and as you launch it from your fingers, it looks like it's true, like dead on, it's going to hit this thing. And you watch as this firebolt just goes right through the bottle and the arm of this spy and does nothing to him, and it continues passing through, and it passes through the wall directly behind you and does absolutely nothing.
Vormish, realizing what's going on, just walks closer up to them just to get a better hearing of what they're saying.
Okay. And with that, that is the end of your scenario.
Oh, goodbye.
1 second. Oh no.
Oh no, I'm in the void.
We've gone and done it now for Mash.
My subconscious is aware this is a dream.
Oh shit. This is such a hard map to do. Hold on. Oh. It's messed up all of it. Bear with me. Okay, that's good. This goes to the map. Yeah, there, that's better. And this goes to token. Yeah. Belvedere. You find yourself standing outside of the Paradris Manor within the city of Ashenport. All around you, the city has been razed, though a majority of the citizens are entirely unharmed. Though a majority of the citizens are completely unharmed, they are a bit shaken. At the gates of the keep, several of the king's guards stand, with Lady Gladamain leading the charge, and directly in front of them, a ragged, exhausted, and very angered King Stormholm, whom has been held captive for over a week without food or water. With a fury in his eyes, the king quickly reaches down to the hilt of his sword. The point of the sword resting directly in front of him, dripping with blood. The Storm King, barely able to hold himself up at this point, steadies himself against the blade. Directly in front of him is Baron Paradris, kneeling, his arms bound behind his back. At his side, the young Saren Paradris, barely more than 15 years of age at this point, also bound and in tears as he kneels beside his father. At their sides, the now dead bodies of the Baron's wife, Yasha, and their oldest son, Rashid. In your mind, time flashes back momentarily. You watch as Rashid, rushing out to defend the manor from the king and his men, angrily provokes King Stormholm. Without hesitation, the king quickly lashes out, lifting the great sword above his head and splitting Rashid between his left shoulder and his neck, his lifeless body falling to the ground almost immediately. His mother rushes out, in shock as she watches her son die from the king's attack, and immediately charges towards him. A member of the King's Guard grabs her, attempts to toss her to the side, but as she falls, her skull cracks upon a rock on the ground, leaving her lifeless before them. Now, as the same member of the Kingsguard quickly approaches behind Baron Paradris back here, he quickly reaches down and places a large block of wood directly underneath of him and pushes him down to the ground. And the king speaks and says, "As king of the Living Isles, Baron Paradris, for the count of treason, I sentence you to death. What say you? What are you doing?"
Do I realize that this is probably like a dream?
To you, this feels very real.
And I recognize like the guy from down there.
You recognize the king. You have never met either of the Paradris family, so to you, they're just strangers. Though once he says the name Baron Paradris, it starts to all click and everything makes sense to you.
This is a bunch of Kingsguard that's standing around me at this point.
Yeah, to your left and right, kind of keeping people from entering or exiting within the Paradris Manor. They're kind of standing at the gate, watching, just keeping an eye on everything.
I want to walk forward and stand next to the king.
Okay. So as you kind of walk up, nobody's taking notice to you. Seems a bit odd considering that there are other guards directly behind you, a little further to the north, that are kind of shoving people back to keep them away from the keep. You're able to just walk right on by and nobody pays any mind to you.
So I was about to say, if it's fair at this point, I might realize it's not real.
Yep.
All right.
And as you start kind of moving forward, you hear as Baron Paradris kind of looks up at the king and says, "Please, sir, you must reconsider. I did not have a hand in the death of our queen. I would never do such a thing to her. Why would you accuse me of this?" And you kind of look as the king looks up at the guard directly behind him and nods and says, "If you would, please, Jameson." And you watch as the man kind of puts his foot in the middle of his back and leans him forward. Give me a history check. Nice. The name Jameson kind of clicks to you. You remember this name because of mention of Eleonora's husband, who was a member of the Kingsguard. You quickly recognize that the two may have a connection together, and for some reason this sticks out in your mind. Like, it almost makes you want to question why this man is here at this time, and why whenever you were escorting Eleonora out of the mansion, why it was him that was found dead within the chambers of the sewer passage. And so as you kind of watch this, young Saren over to the right of him kind of erupts in tears as you watch. As I said, the guard kind of places his foot in the back of Baron and holds him down into place. The king kind of walks over, dragging the sword behind him, almost too weak to lift it over his head. And he looks over at Saren, and kind of a sadness falls over his face as he takes the great sword and lifts it over his head. And as it comes down, the blood kind of sprays and it splatters all over Saren. He can only just sit there and watch in horror as his dad is executed in front of him. No, I did it again. Damn it. Map layer. Okay. Yeah.
Reality is back.
Yeah. Why is that showing like that? Hold on. I know I'm fighting with this thing still. There we go. That's better. All right. Avalana, you find yourself aboard a boat full of the King's Guard, with very few exceptions. The King's naval fleet is obviously impressive, though still lacked the proper captains to man ships such as this one, and often employed pirates from Crow's Nest Cove to guide them along the way. In recent weeks, many of the King's vessels have been sunk at sea, losing all the cargo aboard, and forcing the King to make some difficult choices in the process. This ship, named Nalaeth, was sent as reinforcements to ensure safe travels of the cargo from Falseharbor to Ashenport. The crew, performing their duties as expected, rush around the ship. It wasn't until a ship off the starboard side of the vessel came into view before things got a little chaotic. The crews have heard of the attacks in recent weeks, hitting all of their ships and sinking them and capsizing them. So to find another vessel not so far offshore is not a good sign. The boat hails them, but the Laeth was given specific orders to proceed without stoppage to Ashenport. The second boat follows along, keeping pace with the Laeth. And after several intense moments, the sound of cannons being fired from the opposing ship, wood splintering and scattering everywhere, cannons destroying the ship piece by piece. As each cannonball hits, the hull of the ship continues to give way, water pouring within. You watch as a man standing next to you is crushed under the weight of a cannon hitting him directly in the chest, knocking him all the way across the ship. The Laeth fires back, obviously, the ship not wanting to, come into combat at this point, but it comes well prepared. And after a flurry of shots from both sides, the two ships find themselves taking on a lot of water, with the Laeth sinking halfway between Falseharbor and Ashenport, and the attacking vessel falling beneath the water just a few miles out from the coast of Ashenport itself. The scene fades as you watch the mast of the ship float upward, still attached to the sail, bearing the Victus crest. And now the fun part. I love storytelling, but this is going to be more fun. If I can get it to work. There we go. Yeah. All right. You now find yourselves teleported into a room with 3 alcoves at the southern end of the room. As you enter, this downward pointing arrow with a 100-foot long narrow passage that leads to a steel door. The party steps forward out of the alcoves, looking around the room. To the north, spread across the wall, are 6 ironclad statues holding great swords, standing between small alcoves with banners draped behind them. The banners, one of each of the 6 tribes of the Living Isles. The room itself smells of mold, though you cannot find any form of water around any of the floors in the area. Get a perception check from everybody. Yeah. Avalana with that big roll. Oh, look at that. Crit.
Hey.
All right. So Vormash is kind of dumbfounded. He's like trying to get a grip on everything that's going on, and none of this is making any sense to him. While Belvedere and Avalana, as you guys kind of approach into the middle of the room itself, you don't really find... Avalana, you don't really find anything of real value, but you do notice in the center of the floor a bit of shimmering on the floor itself. Belvedere, your eyes immediately look upward, and as you glance in that direction, you notice there's a glass orb that's hanging from the ceiling by a rope hanger, suspended from an opening through the ceiling, which shines moonlight down into the chamber. As the light hits this orb that's held in the rope, that's what's causing all of the illusion of the water in the center of the chamber itself.
I'd like to step forward into the middle of the room.
Okay.
Are we allowed to move our tokens?
Absolutely.
Oh. Nice upholstery on the floor here.
What is this, rock? This is nice rock.
Can I use my divine sense?
Sure. What are you looking for? Just evil?
Yeah, like if there's anything like general that my divine sense can pick up.
Yep. There is no evil in the area, and there's no good in the area. It's just, to you, using your divine sense, it's just a room. There's no fiends or anything like that.
There's like nothing's like, it's not like consecration or desecration?
No.
Can I like dash across the room to one of the statues?
Yeah, go ahead. You're not in combat, so yeah, you can do what you want. Explore the room.
I'm gonna walk into like the middle of the room and stand like kind of below the orb and in like the shimmer.
Okay. And are you kind of looking up, or are you standing where you're at? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of like glance up and try to look at the orb as much, even though I imagine if it's like giving off light, it might be kind of bright to look at. So like,
yeah. So yeah, as you kind of look up, and you look up at this orb that's kind of suspended over the room, you notice that there's a small key and a pile of coins at the bottom of this orb.
I'm like on the floor beneath it.
No, it's like inside of the orb itself. It's like a glass orb that has like an opening at the top. You're getting a sense that the mildew smell that you had smelled when you first appeared in the room is coming from within that. Like it's just stagnant water that has been sitting there for a while, and it's kind of the smell itself is starting to fill the room.
All right.
Can I investigate the statue?
Absolutely. Give me an investigation check. It is a statue of armor.
Cool.
Yeah.
Since I know that, I'm gonna just keep moving on.
How high above me is the orb?
It's about 15 feet in the air. You could probably, if you really wanted to, you could try to cut it down, or if you wanted to like have somebody kind of hold you up in the air, you could probably reach up and like cut the rope at the bottom of it so you could kind of grab the orb and bring it down itself if you really wanted to do that.
Yeah, I want to try to get it down like as gently as possible.
Okay. Avalana, as you're looking at the end of the hall, you see a big metal door that rests at the end, and on either side of the hallway are just a bunch of the same kind of armor that you had saw in the main chamber.
Can I investigate
Well,
the
I know
armor?
for a fact that it's just armor, so I'm going to keep going down the hall.
Okay.
Can I investigate the armor?
You can.
And I actually don't see Slavomir with us at all, right?
He is not with you because he did not rest.
Yeah, that's a suit of armor, all right.
That
Hey,
is a
Avalana,
suit
wait
of
up.
armor.
This is fine armor.
Okay, so Belvedere is wanting to get the orb down so he can get the key out.
I think I probably need some help, guys.
I mean, you're welcome to try to cut the rope or use something like a hand axe to knock it down.
I can try something. I go over to Belvedere. And I go, what seems to be the problem?
There's something in that orb and I want to get it down.
I see. Well, have no fear. Your old friend is here to take care of things. Okay, if you could cut it down, I could use Featherfall to make sure it comes down slowly.
All right. So go ahead.
I have a quick question. Do all of the statues, even the ones down the hall, have tribe decorations?
No, the only thing that has the indications of the 6 tribes are the banners behind the armor, at least from what you can see, because of your investigation check.
Okay.
So, like, when you first looked up and you looked where the armor was on that back wall, you noticed that the banners that were behind them actually bared the different crests of the 6 different tribes. So, Belvedere and Vormash, what are you guys doing?
Can I see like where the rope is tied to? Like, is there anywhere where is
the rope is actually going up through the opening that the moonlight is shining through, and is kind of tied off to something on the other side.
All right, so I'm obviously gonna have access to that then.
Correct.
I want to pull out, because why not make good use of it? Because we have it. The pull of collapsing, and use the command word to extend it out.
Okay, and you're going to use that to kind of knock it off of the rope wire or the rope hanger, so that Vormash can kind of glide it down.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and actually, I'll let you go ahead and do that. So, is there like anything that needs to be done for your save, Vormash, to see if it hits? Yeah, no. You kind of take this, and as you poke at the orb, and it kind of knocks off of the rope hanger, and it kind of falls to the ground. Vormash quickly casts Featherfall, and it brings it down, and you're able to get right underneath of it and secure it, and kind of set it down. And you still, inside of it, at the very bottom of it, you see the key and a small pile of coins at the bottom.
Since this is a dream, do I have to expend a spell slot?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right.
I want to take, obviously, can I actually grab, like, I'm grabbing the thing, so I can actually grab, like, the gold and the key out of it?
So No. Because as you kind of reach into this thing, the orb itself shatters in place. And you are now facing a large gelatinous cube, which is
Jesus.
as a trap. And I need a dexterity saving throw from both of you, please.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Stuff with the dexterity saving throws.
10. Oh wait, I can use my arcane tradition to add 4 points to my saving throw, so that's 14.
Okay.
Fortunately, I don't have my aura yet. That's that would be very helpful. Oh, no. Huzzah!
All right. So yeah, both of you are able to quickly move out of the way as this gelatinous cube kind of forms itself directly in front of you. I need all of you to roll for initiative, please.
Oh, thank God. Was 14 enough?
Yes. A -2. That's cool.
That didn't do much better.
Hooray!
All right. Wait, why is that a 12 now? It was a -2. Oh, because I
shit.
accidentally rolled it. I'm gonna change that. -2.
Does Avalana even know what's going on?
She does not. Though, Avalana, give me a perception check.
Perception?
Yep. Sorry, hold on.
Would like to think she at least heard the glass cracking.
Yeah, so...
The question is, do I care?
So yeah, even at the end of the hall, because of how big and cavernous this room is, sound kind of echoes all the way throughout the cavern and echoes all the way down the hall where you are at. And as such, you kind of turn around and look and you see this large gelatinous cube about to devour your friends. What are you doing?
Okay. First, I'm thinking it's just a gelatinous cube, so I'm going to check the door first. Is it locked?
Give me an investigation check.
So glad she's deciding whether she cares about our well-being.
From what you can tell, it does not appear to be locked, though when you reach up and grab the handle, nothing happens.
When I reach up and grab the handle, what?
Nothing happens. Your hand kind of passes through it.
Alright, I guess I'll go help my friends.
Okay. So you can move your 30 foot of movement. Or 60. Well, no. 30 because you used your primary action as the investigation.
And could my vicious mockery... Wait, 1 second.
60 feet.
Is it more than 60 feet away from me?
Yes,
Probably.
Probably. You can measure it. Yep.
Nah, I'll just shout to my friends that I'm coming. So hold on. And that's my turn.
Okay. Vormash.
Panicked. I'm gonna cast a magic circle around my and over, and so I'm gonna cast that.
It's pulling up my
So
DM sheet again.
there's a 10-foot circle around us, and
Sorry guys, I'm gonna fix
celestials, elemental, fae, fiends, or undead creatures cannot pass through it by non-magical means. And if it does get inside, it has disadvantage on all attack rolls.
Okay, but let's look at this. Okay, so it's not a celestial, elemental, fae, fiend, or undead.
All right, that means it can enter the circle, but it has disadvantage on attack rolls.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Belvedere, you're up.
All right, time to pull out the old sword and do what I do best.
Sword.
And then I'm going to attack it with my first attack. I want to use for my bonus action. I want to cast Thunderous Smite.
Hold on. I just remembered something. Avalana, you were standing here, right? You were standing like where the torches were?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. I was just making sure. That's all. Thunder Smite. Okay, go ahead.
Well, just chance my blade with thunderous energy, so then I'm going to attack.
Well, you can cast that after, as long as it hits. So, yeah, you wouldn't want to waste a spell slot to try to hit it. But yes, a 10 hits. So yeah, you'll do the damage and then run Thunder Smite and give me the damage on that too. Okay. All right.
Oh, I didn't restore my spell slots.
Yeah, so just take one off of your level 1 slots and reset the others before the next round. So we're at 12.
And I'm going to swing again.
And this thing gets a strength save, so give me a second. It does not save. So it is pushed 10 feet. Which direction do you want it pushed?
Just straight back.
Straight back?
I'll step forward into attack again.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And I would like to use my first level divine smite on that.
Yeah. So give me the damage on the roll and then do your divine smite. Okay. Yeah. So you would actually get... Wow, that's some good damage.
A mighty blow.
18. So we're at 24. Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that'll be it for my turn.
All right. All right. So with that, let's see what this thing's going to do.
He's outside the circle, so he's got normal attack rolls now.
Okay. Yeah, because it extends 15 feet from you?
It extends 10 feet. And
10 feet.
20 feet.
Okay.
Attack thought it was a little bit bigger. My bad.
It's okay. All right, so it is going to use its engulf ability to try to attack you, so it kind of lunges forward and goes to attack you. I need another dexterity saving throw from you, please.
Oof.
Oof. Okay. So you have two options. You can either be pushed back 5 feet, or if you choose not to be pushed back, I have other things that I can do.
Other things?
Mm-hmm.
I assume out of character those other things would be getting eaten. Honestly, it'd probably just take the blow and get thrown back.
Okay, so you will be pushed back 5 feet in this direction. As it tries to kind of roll forward, that's its entire objective, is trying to roll forward again and regather everybody. And then this gets... Let's see, 1 sec. Okay, and then, yeah, that's going to be it for its turn. Avalana, what are you doing?
Okay, so I'm gonna move first.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do the measure tool? Because I think he's right in range.
It looks like a little ruler on the side there. Yep. Just in range.
Yeah, so I'm gonna cast Vicious Mockery.
All right. What are you saying to this cube with no ears?
I'm telling it that it's not cube shaped. It's more oblong.
And as you say this, you watch as this kind of oblong cube jiggles a bit, somehow taking psychic damage on your attack. Anything else?
Nah, that's it.
That's
You're
it?
not a perfect cube.
You're not a perfect cube. Okay. Vormash, you're up.
Alright, I'm going to... Gonna hit that cube with a firebolt.
Okay. Oh, sorry guys. I didn't realize the camera was off. Here we go. This is better. See? Yeah, that's gonna hit. Give me some damage.
Hey-oh!
Hey. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right.
Stay inside my circle. My protective circle.
Okay. Belvedere, you're up.
Alright. Time to attack once again. Nope.
Nope. So this time, as you come around with your long sword and you kind of swipe at it, you can almost feel as this cube kind of gives way a little bit, and it almost like absorbs your sword, and you just feel the tip of the sword going all the way through, but it doesn't actually connect with anything. And as it comes out, you're just a little frustrated that it doesn't actually do anything.
Son of a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Second attack. Goodness gracious.
Same thing. So as the first one comes through, you quickly try to come back, thinking you've got it perfect this time. And as you come around, you bring the longsword down again. It kind of swipes through. It feels like it pierces the edge or the corner of the actual cube, but it doesn't do anything, and it just melds right back into place as the sword passes through it.
Belvedere, here's his goddamn shenanigans. And I would like to use my bonus action to cast spiritual weapon.
Okay. Where are you placing it?
Directly on the opposite side of me from the cube.
Okay. One sec. And what shape is it?
Sword. Great sword.
Directly here?
Right here.
Oh, okay.
Opposite side of me.
Okay. And one sec. Let me see if I can give this to you. Yes. Like that. So you can move it now. So go ahead and give me the attack. Yeah, that's going to hit. Give me some damage. Alrighty.
They're doing better than me. The spiritual weapon actually is.
Anything else?
That'll be it for my turn.
All right. The gelatinous cube, now unimpressed by your sword, is going to quickly push through and going to charge between both of you and try to absorb both of you as it comes through. Again, I need you guys to give me dexterity saving throws, please.
It's inside the circle now, so it has disadvantage.
There's no attack on this. It's a dexterity saving throw.
Alright, gotcha.
So there's no disadvantage.
Oh noes.
Oh noes. Okay.
Plus 4, that's 18.
So you can choose take the pushback and it will move your circle, or otherwise.
Yeah, definitely the pushback.
Vormash.
Oh, not me.
Oh, you failed.
Oh, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm getting eaten.
So what are you doing, Vormash?
Did I fail?
No, you passed, but you still have to tell me, what are you doing? Are you taking the pushback and letting it knock you back 5 feet?
I'll stand my ground.
Okay. Okay. Because you tried to stand your ground against this creature that was pushing through, both of you suffer 13 bludgeoning damage from this, or acid damage from this thing as it comes through, entirely engulfing you, and you are now both restrained.
Can I cast Hellish Rebuke as a reaction to that?
What will that give you? I can't remember what Hellish Rebuke is.
Hold on, I got it right here. Pull it up.
And is that a concentration spell, your circle, Vormash?
Yeah, the circle is a concentration spell.
Okay. Then I'll also need a con saving throw, please.
Hellish Rebuke. The creature must make a dexterity saving throw, and it takes 2d10 fire damage upon a fail save.
Can you link it? Actually, I'll just pull up your character sheet and look. Hold on. Hellish Rebuke. Oh, you don't have the description? Why don't you have the description?
I'm reading it here. Can you not see it?
No. It's empty. Completely empty.
Let me check. Is it still there?
Yep, it's empty. Hold on. All right, Hellish Rebuke. Take a reaction to respond to being damaged by a creature within 60 feet of you. You point a finger, and the creature that damaged you is momentarily surrounded by hellish flames. The creature must make a dexterity saving throw, and it will take 2d10 on fail or half as much on success. All right, so dexterity saving throw, and what is your DC on that?
13.
Okay. It rolled a 0.
All right.
Big
Roll
fat
that
0.
damage.
Go ahead and roll me that damage. Alrighty. So yeah, you still take your damage, but... Oh, why did you do it like that?
Oh, because it was 2d10 because it failed.
You could do /2d10 though.
Oh, no.
/R2d10.
I clicked the wrong thing and it
No.
rolled.
That's fine. So yeah, you do 4 damage to it. You still take the 13 damage though. So it doesn't prevent you from taking damage. It just gives you an attack back on something that attacked you.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to hurt it back.
Yep. Avalana, you're up.
I'm gonna dissonant whispers it this time.
Okay. All right, wisdom save. Hey, it's saved. So half damage. Okay. What else?
That's my turn.
Alrighty. Vormash, it is now officially your turn.
So what can I roll to get out of this?
I believe it... Let's see. An engulfed creature can try to escape. Oh, did that spell actually require a... Yes, it did. You wouldn't have been able to cast Hellish Rebuke, because it requires a somatic, and you wouldn't be able to move because you were restrained.
Oh, okay.
That's how that engulf works.
Got it. So I'm just going to roll to get out.
Okay. Yep. If you do not, then the damage will increase this time. So yeah, go ahead and give me that dexterity save. Ouch.
+4 is an 11.
Okay. As you try to pull out of this, unable to breathe and kind of restrained, the acid damage is starting to become a bit too much. And you basically see yourself you feel the acid start to burn at your skin, and it deals 25 acid damage to you.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm dead.
Okay.
I'm not dead. But I'm not
You're down. Belvedere, you will need to give me a dexterity saving throw, please.
Are you sure I can't do athletics, Gina? Or strength?
Yes, I am sure. I know, that would be fun, but no.
$11.
Actually, no. Wormash, give me a strength save. Maybe it'll be his saving grace on this. And yes, Belvedere, strength save as well. Hey.
+4, that's a 20.
Hey. Unfortunately, Belvedere does not save. But, Vormash, you add that 25 points back to your health. You were able to break out of it, though it did cost you your action. So we'll go back. We'll go back and come back to you and say, because I read that wrong, I thought it said dex save, but no, it says strength save. I want to fix that and make it right before we go forward. So you have your bonus action. You can still perform if you would like to do so.
Let me see what I can make with a bonus action. All right. I can't really do anything with a bonus action. Oh, okay. What's the lighting like in this room? Is it still like bright?
No, it's pretty dim. The only light is coming from up above, the moonlight that's shining through that opening, and then the torches down the hall.
So it's dim lighting.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm going to use my bonus action to cast Shadow Blade, which means all the shadows form into my hand and creates a weapon that I'm proficient with. And since we're in dim lighting, I get advantage on this attack roll.
Okay. Oh yeah. Look at that. Give me some damage. Okay.
Yeah, this counts as a melee, like a strength attack, because I'm using a weapon. So.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it. That's my bonus action.
Okay. Belvedere, I'll have you go ahead and re-roll your strength save, because I am a kind god.
Much appreciated. Kind DM, sir.
Thank you for not letting me die. Yeah. All right, you break free. You do have your bonus action. You can move and attack with your sword if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, I'm moving that boy right up to it.
Yep.
Hold
on. Yep, that's gonna hit. You'll have to rewrite it so that it will only show up once, or it'll only pull from your spell slots once, because whenever you click the damage, it's going to want to pull from spell slots. I'll show you how to do that later.
Alright.
So yeah, go ahead and click your damage. Alright. Tell me how you just killed the gelatinous cube.
Oh yeah. Well, after I get free, channeling my fury into the spiritual blade, I cleave it straight in half.
Nice. So as you do so, you watch as the 6 gold coins that were at the bottom of this and the key that were inside of the gelatinous cube fall to the ground where this thing once stood. And you are now out of combat.
Yeah, so my Shadow Blade dissipates now in the air, and my magic circle is now gone.
Okay.
Well, that was... certainly didn't feel like a dream.
Nope. Also the complete opposite of the other campaign I played Belvedere in, where the spiritual weapon actually comes in handy instead of failing miserably all the time.
My spiritual weapon on my cleric is so good. I love it. All right. So, you have a key and 6 gold coins on the ground.
I'll pick up those coins.
Can I inspect the gold coins?
Yeah, they are regular gold pieces.
I'm gonna go head back to the door.
Okay.
I'll grab the key. And I'm assuming probably via the door. But I've seen the door at the end of the hall, or not so much?
I mean, it was 100 feet away, so, I mean, it's pretty dark. You can see it because of the torches, maybe?
I'd like to first go and examine, like, one of the, those. I'll take my crack at trying to see if I can see anything about the armor sets.
Okay. Avalana, as you approach this, because last time you had stopped here and you kind of reached your hand out and you were trying to touch this door. And as you reached out, it just kind of passed through and nothing would happen. This time, as you try to approach it a little closer, it moves away from you. always staying just out of reach every time that you get close to it.
Does someone have a key?
Belvedere, as you're looking at these different statues or the different sets of armor, you notice that the crests within the armor are just marked of the individual tribes within the region. But other than that, you don't really notice anything out of the ordinary with them.
Hmm. Alright, and I'll respond to Evelana's question and say, we just found one in the cube when it died. And I'll make my way down to the end of the hall.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make my way down there too. This is a long hallway.
Belvedere, stop. Vormash, stop. So as you get right here, holding the key in your hand, suddenly your hand starts to feel lighter. And as you're walking and you get towards the end of the hall, this key that you have in your hand dematerializes and turns into grains of sand as it parts through your fingers. The closer you get to the end of the hall, though, similar to Avalana, you start to notice that you can't get any closer. It's almost like looking at the door is preventing you from going anywhere. And now you have no key.
I want to try and use Mage Hand to see if I can get that to at least touch the door.
Okay. So you cast Mage Hand, and the hand reaches out, and as it gets closer, it continues to go further. It's almost like it's as you're watching it, to yourself, it's not moving, but to the hand, as it's reaching forward, trying to grab this door, it just can't get any closer. It's almost like it's in its own mind, it's pushing further back.
Do the coins that we picked up as well dissolve, or are those still there?
No, the coins are still there, but the key, it did dissolve.
Can I, if I'm still holding like some of the sand or whatever, if I step back from it, does it rematerialize?
Yeah, so if you step back 5 feet and you look down at the floor directly where you were standing, the key does appear to pull itself back together.
Weird. Can I try to insight or perception check that to see if, like, I don't know. See if, like...
You can give me a perception check on.
While he's doing that, I want to tell Avalana to back away as I face the door. And I'm just gonna throw an Eldritch Blast at it.
Okay.
Can I make like an intelligence check or something?
For
To, like, understand what this is doing, like maybe an Arcana check to be like understand what magic this is or something like that.
You can also give me a perception check. Vormash, as you cast Eldritch Blast, the beam of energy as it casts from your fingers, it goes into this area directly in front of the door, and as it hits about 5 feet away, the magic kind of dissipates within it and refuses to go any further. Avalana, you're noticing that it's almost as if when you're looking forward and you're looking at this door, anything that reaches a certain point, this door is trying to move away from it, as if it doesn't like to be visible. It doesn't want to be seen. If you attempted perhaps a different approach to the door, maybe that would work.
close my eyes and walk forward?
Yes, you can close your eyes and walk forward. And as you do so, you reach that 5-foot point, and once again, it starts to push you back a little bit.
Can I retrieve the key with using the pole?
Yep. Yeah, you can knock it back and pick it back up.
Alright, I'm gonna hold it tightly in my hand. And seeing what Avalana is trying, I'm gonna turn around and walk backwards toward the door.
That's what I was gonna do next. Is I wanted to walk backwards.
And Belvedere, as you turn around and you start walking back towards this door backwards, and the closer and closer you get to the 5-foot mark, and you are able to kind of open your eyes and you glance over and you see Avalana's right beside you. And as you step back, you feel that resistance is no longer there, and that suddenly you feel the door at your back.
Huzzah!
The key is still in your hand.
Can I feel for like where the handle and the key hole is?
Well, I'm facing Belvedere, so I want to try and assist him and try and tell him where the lock is.
Yep. So as you're reaching over Belvedere, you're trying to find this lock. Give me a sleight of hand check, as you're trying to do so without actually looking at it.
Well, I'm helping him, like, kind of like.
With advantage, then.
Yeah. Because I can look at him.
And as you kind of reach over, Ormash making sure to stand back far enough to not trigger this thing, as you're kind of reaching over with your left hand trying to find the opening, Ormash is kind of pointing and guiding your hand in a specific direction, and then suddenly you feel the tip of the key slip within, and as you turn the key, you hear the door kind of creak and start to give out. You feel like a pressure that starts to build up throughout the chamber, and suddenly you feel all three of you are just sucked through this portal, and then you awaken back in the chambers of the ESS. And that's where we'll end our session tonight.
Goodness gracious.
Wow.
Whoa. Yeah, I was gonna try snuffing out all the torches if that didn't work.
All right. So give me a second. I'm going to end the stream, and then I'm going to come right back, and we're going to talk about this.
All right.
All right. Be right back. All right, guys. So thank you for being here. I very much appreciate all of you. Appreciate all the follows and subscriptions that have gotten me to where I'm at right now. I hope to continue that trend forward. I hope you guys enjoyed this too. This was a lot of fun. This puzzle to me was just amazing. I loved organizing it and trying to lay it out in a way that made sense. But yeah, again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, I'm going to be at PAX East all through the weekend. I'm going to try to stream possibly tomorrow, probably about mid-afternoon-ish. No specific time, but I will let you know as soon as I have something. I'll post it on Twitter and keep you guys updated. Make sure I can find a good Wi-Fi to be able to do so. Sunday, Monday for our Ascension and Tyranny game, and then on Wednesday for our very first Storm King's Thunder game for the Amongst the Giants campaign. Lots of fun for me tonight. Lots of story. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope to see you guys again very soon, and I hope you have a good night. So I'll see you sometime in the very near future.